Okay, tortillas. I put a recipe in the back on the description. Last night I made tortillas when I got off, so me and Joe could have some chorizo. It just wasn't fermented, but it worked just fine. Me and Joe had a wonderful time with our tacos. I have flour, baking powder, and I have the recipe, you guys. On my description, I put a recipe on there for the tortillas. I measured it last night for you guys so you guys could have answers. Salt, baking powder, flour. Main ingredient. You need to put either oil. I've made it with oil, like this kind of oil. I've made it with butter, and I've made it with Crisco, and I've made it with even, believe it or not, I even made it with bacon grease, but I was just trying it to see if it worked out. So I am using regular oil. I try to mix up my flour, salt, and baking powder before I put the oil, only because once the oil goes in, your flour and everything is kind of already in its spot, and it's just going to wet whatever is there. So I kind of blend it up a little bit, flour, baking powder, and salt. Then I get the oil, and I can eye it. I know how much oil I need for how much flour I have. Again, there's a recipe in the description for you guys, so you guys can have the proper measurements for the tortillas. I took the time last night, and when I was making ours, I said I know what I was going to do when I did this today, so I wanted to make sure I wrote the recipe down and I measured it. Joe's over there frying the chorizo we made last night, and I am doing the tortillas. So
right. Smells good.
It does smell good.
Yeah.
He's gonna fry a whole pan of chorizo, or not a whole pan, but he's frying the chorizo, and then we're gonna divide it for papas, and then he's gonna put some for eggs. You should have little beads, you guys. You can see. I'm gonna zoom in for you guys. You should see little beads in your. It went from flour, just like soft flour, to like little balls. And that's what, whether you use Crisco or whether you use oil, you'll want to get your fingers and mush it up in there and distribute it through all of your flour. And you can feel the balls in your fingers. You're feeling the little pieces of lumps, and that's your Crisco, that's your oil, and you're breaking it up into the flour so that it's distributed evenly. Okay? I put as hot water as you can. That's just how I was taught, hot water. I wasn't taught warm. I wasn't taught cool. I was taught hot, very, very hot water. I even use it off of my my water dispenser thing. All right, flour, baking powder, salt. I put, what does this look like, babe? 3 cups of flour.
I wasn't watching it either.
That's okay.
I don't think there's 3 cups in there.
No? I eyed it.
Yeah, maybe 3.
Flour, baking powder. Then I'm putting 1 cup of water. The oil is about a 1/3 cup. 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And then I put a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Again, you guys don't, if you don't want to make salt, it works. I personally would put a tiny bit of salt because that's your activator. This, where are you guys? Wow. This is your activator for this. This is gonna make your tortillas rise. Okay, you need your tortillas to rise a little bit. Okay, that makes sense. All right, I'm gonna add hot water. So I gotta move this because I mean I could get hot water from the dispenser, but
yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Here.
There you go. Hey guys. It's an early morning, I know. Hey, I can't see, my glasses are.
You got 90 pair.
I know, but
90 pair right there.
I was trying to read it without looking at the phone. All right. I'm not sure if anybody made it last night, but if anybody made the, oh, thank you. Joan is golfing. Okay, hold up, guys. Sorry. And I could use that water cooling down just a minute. Ooh, Joe, we have 357. Okay, guys. Flour, baking powder, not baking soda, baking powder, and salt. Baking powder is going to help your tortillas rise, or they need to rise. I mean, I'm sure it'll work out fine if you don't, but why would you want a flat tortilla when it can be bubbly? All right. And then, hey, Instant Karma. Oh, Haley, I love you too, babe. Oh, you've never seen it? No, the oil is, I pour it in this container. The oil comes like this in this kind of container. I know it's so little, right? I think they did it like for space purposes. And then I'm about to put in my salt or my water now, my hot water. Look at how hot it is, you guys. My hands are very sensitive, and look at how crazy hot that is. What? Yes. For you, I'll do anything. Just kidding, it's gonna burn. Okay, let me move you guys down so you can see it. Okay, and you're gonna grab your fingers and just kind of move it around in there because it's going to be hot, but two, you're trying to grab your stuff from the sides and push it into the water. Okay, you're gonna pour a little more water, and you're gonna grab your flour from the outside and push it into the water. I mean, that's how I do it. It relatively works. Then I grab my fingers like this, and I just blend it with the tips of my fingers like this. I move it around, and I pick up the flour. If by chance you put too much water in it, it's easy fix. Throw more flour in there. You may have to add a little bit more salt, but more than likely your baking powder is going to be sufficient. You don't need to add more. You'll probably need more salt because you are putting more flour. But this is... and then you kind of grab it and grip it. Grab, flip. This is like basically kneading it. You're kneading your masa. This is called masa versus dough. Like biscuit dough, pie dough. This is called masa. Don't ask me why. We call it masa. We call it masa, though.
Call it maize.
You call it what?
No,
maize.
Commercial, yeah.
And then once it gets, I mean, you'll want to get it to a certain, and then you can let it sit for about 10 minutes just to get the activators in it, like the baking powder, the salt, to activate. Meaning, right, Joe? It's a wah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
It's pretty soft. See that? That's it, you guys. Baking powder, flour, salt. Right now it's warm because of the water was hot. So I'm going to let it sit like this. I'm going to clear off my workstation because I'm going to start rolling out the tortillas in a minute.